Hey everyone, welcome back to Knowledge to Go. I'm your host, Victor. Today we're diving into 10 times accidents changed history. Sometimes the biggest breakthroughs come from the most unexpected places, like, say, a dropped petri dish or a melted chocolate bar, so buckle up because today we're diving into 10 times accidents changed history. Let's kick things off with one of the most famous accidents in history, Isaac Newton and that apple. You know the story? Newton's just chilling under an apple tree, an apple takes a tumble, and boom, the law of gravity is born. Newton saw a falling apple, and it got him thinking. He wondered, why do things fall down and not sideways or even up? That simple question led to one of the most important scientific discoveries of all time. Newton's law of universal gravitation revolutionized our understanding of the universe. Next up, we're traveling to 1928, to the lab of a brilliant but slightly messy scientist named Alexander Fleming. Fleming was researching bacteria when he went on vacation, leaving behind a stack of petri dishes. When he returned, he found that one of his petri dishes had been contaminated with mold. But here's the thing, the mold had actually killed the bacteria around it. This accidental contamination led to the discovery of the first antibiotic, penicillin. Penicillin revolutionized medicine, saving millions of lives and forever changing the way we fight bacterial infections. Now, let's talk about the invention that changed the way we cook, the microwave oven. And believe it or not, this culinary revolution started with a melted chocolate bar. Back in the 1940s, an engineer named Percy Spencer was working on radar technology. One day, while standing near a magnetron, Spencer noticed the chocolate bar in his pocket had melted. He realized that the microwaves from the magnetron were heating up the chocolate. Intrigued, he experimented with other foods, and voila, the microwave oven was born. Our next accidental discovery takes us back to 1895 to the lab of Wilhelm Röntgen, a German physicist. Röntgen was experimenting with cathode rays. One day he noticed a fluorescent screen across the room was glowing even though his cathode ray tube was covered in black cardboard. He placed various objects between the tube and the screen and discovered that these mysterious rays could pass through solid objects, casting shadows of what was inside. Thus, X-rays were born, a discovery that revolutionized medicine, allowing doctors to see inside the human body without surgery. Not all accidental discoveries happen in a lab. In 1492, Christopher Columbus set sail from Spain on a mission to find a westward route to Asia. Columbus believed he had reached the East Indies, but he was wrong. He had actually landed in the Bahamas, in a new world he never knew existed. Our next story takes us to the 1950s, to the lab of Wilson Greatbatch, an engineer who was working on a device to record heartbeats. While building his heartbeat recorder, Greatbatch accidentally installed the wrong type of resistor. When he turned on the device, instead of recording heartbeats, it emitted a rhythmic pulse, a pulse that sounded remarkably like a human heartbeat. Greatbatch realized he could use this pulsing device to regulate a heart that wasn't beating properly. And so the implantable pacemaker was born, a device that has saved and improved the lives of millions of people around the world. Now let's talk about a happy accident that tickled the taste buds of the world, the invention of Coca-Cola. It all started in 1886 with John Pemberton, a pharmacist in Atlanta, Georgia. Pemberton was experimenting with different concoctions, hoping to create a cure for headaches. One day, he mixed together coca leaves, cola nuts, and a few other secret ingredients, added carbonated water, and voila, Coca-Cola was born. Our next accidental discovery proves that even the stickiest situations can have a silver lining. In 1968, Spencer Silver, a scientist at 3M, was working on a new type of adhesive. Silver was aiming for a super strong glue, but instead he created the opposite, a weak, pressure-sensitive adhesive that didn't seem good for much. For years, Silver tried to find a use for his weak glue, but nothing seemed to stick. Then, in 1974, a colleague named Arthur Fry came up with a brilliant idea, using the weak glue for bookmarks that wouldn't damage pages. Our next accidental invention proves that sometimes the best way to innovate is to just let things roll. In the early 1940s, Richard James, a naval engineer, was working on a way to stabilize sensitive instruments on ships using springs. One day, James accidentally knocked one of his springs off a shelf. Instead of simply falling to the floor, the spring walked. It uncoiled itself, end over end, down a stack of books and onto the floor. Our final story is a sobering reminder that not all accidents have a happy ending, but this one, thankfully, was averted thanks to quick thinking and a healthy dose of skepticism. On September 26, 1983, Stanislav Petrov, a lieutenant colonel in the Soviet Air Defense Forces, was monitoring the Soviet Union's early warning system for nuclear missile launches from the United States. Suddenly, the alarm sounded, and the system reported that 5 nuclear missiles had been launched from the US and were heading towards the Soviet Union. Petrov's orders were clear: to report the attack immediately, which would likely trigger a retaliatory strike and potentially lead to a full-blown nuclear war. But something didn't feel right to Petrov. He had a gut feeling that the system was malfunctioning. So, instead of following protocol, Petrov made a judgment call that likely saved millions of lives. So there you have it. 10 times accidents changed history. From life-saving medicines to world-altering technologies and even a few fun inventions along the way, these accidental discoveries remind us that progress often comes from the most unexpected places. Sometimes it's not about meticulous planning, but about being open to the possibility of happy accidents. So the next time you make a mistake, don't be so quick to dismiss it. Who knows, it might just lead to the next big breakthrough. Thanks for joining me on this accidental adventure. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. Until next time, keep exploring, keep wondering, and keep those brains sparking.